Hi everybody, this is Eugene again. So today I want to do a video a little bit different than I usually do. So today, instead of just doing a tutorial, I want to do a little bit of a testimonial as well. So today's tutorial slash testimonial is going to be on flasking dentures. There are many ways to flask a denture. Today I'm going to be showing you the one where we use just stone. This is just a regular production case. Not a lot of detail, not a lot of fast tuning. So using just stone is fine. So I recently have switched to this product from Hi-Tec Dental. It's called Flask. I use it for my second pour. It's pourable flask stone, and you can pour it without the use of any kind of vibration. The first pour was done with actually Hi-Tec flask stone. It's specifically formulated to use in flasking techniques. I've been using different kinds of stones over the years and different kinds of techniques. I've used just a regular buff stone, or I've used rapid flask from Whip Mix, and I've had good results somewhat with everything. Haven't had really any major issues. My only concerns have been is with just regular stone was just the replication wasn't as good. I would be trapping some air. You'd have to use vibration. With rapid flask, it's in the name pretty much. It sets up really quick. So if you want to do more than one flask or two flasks, you kind of have to move pretty quickly. With this stuff, what I like about the guys at Hi-Tec, they'll pretty much customize it as much as they can, obviously, to what you need. So if I want the stone to be a slower setting, it will be slower setting. Faster setting will be faster setting. If they want a little bit harder, it'll be a little bit softer, and within those parameters. Also, they will customize your color for you. They have a whole plethora of colors. So far I'm pretty happy with everything those guys have been doing for me. So the first pour was done with flask stone, and so I have applied the separating fluid. I used the Ivoclar's cold sep. I did 2 coats of it. So I made sure that there's no separator anywhere on the teeth, and you try to avoid putting any on the wax as well, because separator tends to interfere with the stone. It might create inconsistencies and stuff like that. You also want to have it dry, because if you have any water on there, it also makes the stone more fluid. You might trap some more air and stuff like that. So once I get to that point, what I do is I will take my surfactant or debubbleizer, and I'll just lightly spray the case. Not a lot. You don't want to pour it on there. You just want a very light coat of it. Then you obviously thorough lubricate your flask. I did it on the bottom when I did my first pour, and I also lubricated the cast so you can remount it. This kind of flasking is a little bit different than what I usually do. What happened here is that the impression was overextended, obviously, like it happens a lot of times. So this is just a regular case. This is not a showpiece. This is just a regular production case that I'm doing. So I had to build it up a little bit over the landing area to kind of block out the remainder of it, just so I have the up to the wax where I need it to be. So everything's lubricated, and then I place my second half of the flask. You want to make sure that it's fully seated all the way down. There's no any kind of rocking or anything like that. You want to make sure your flasks are clean. I did obviously use my best flask for this, because I'm shooting a video and stuff. But a good way to keep them clean, what I generally do, I use the walnut shell blaster that you use to blast out the stone from the dentures. I use them just to clean these flasks. They work really nice for me, and I haven't had any issues. So from this point, you're ready to do your second pour. So I'll move this out of the way, and I'll show you how I do my second pour. So I prefer to pre-weigh and pre-measure my powder and my liquid. The reason for that is because it just creates a more consistent mix, and the closer you follow the manufacturer's instructions, the better results you will achieve. And I like to vacuum mix my stone also because you get much better results. So there's about 300 grams of powder here and about 105 milliliters of water. That's 35 milliliters of water to 100 grams of powder. And you always want to add your powder to your liquid. This way you get a much better mix and you trap a lot less air. And what I do is I'll add it slowly for a couple of reasons. I don't want to make a huge mess, to be one. And secondly, it will incorporate liquid into powder a lot more evenly, thus creating a more homogeneous mix and making things a little bit nicer for you. So you just kind of add everything into it and you just kind of slowly mix it in. Not too slowly because you don't want to have things set up on you if you're taking 10 minutes to mix your stone. So just make sure everything is thoroughly mixed. Everything is nice and incorporated. What I'll do now is I'll take my cover, place it on the container, and I will vacuum mix it. It's going to be out of the frame a little bit, but most of you guys know what a vacuum mixer looks like and how it works, so that shouldn't be an issue. So I generally will vacuum mix the stone for about 30 seconds, 30 to 40 seconds. I don't really place a timer on it or anything else like that. I just do it until it feels kind of right to me, personally. So that's probably just about right to me. So at this point you just open everything up and your stone is going to be pretty fluid at this point. So you just take your spatula and place it right in the sink. That's what I usually do. So at this point I will just take my stone, and what I do is I go from back to forward and I make it really a small stream, and I let it go from posterior to anterior. Gonna go back a little bit so you can see. It's kind of hard to shoot this at the same time as doing it. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I go from the distal all the way around to the other distal, and I can move my container slowly all the way around until the facials of the teeth are fully engulfed in stone, kind of like this. Okay, this way I know that it's kind of creates a nice seal everywhere and I'm not trapping any air. And then I go from the lingual and you go slowly again. From posterior to anterior. What I'll do at this point is I'll shake the flask a little bit, make sure everything gets into the embrasures and incorporates everything really nicely. And I'll add a little bit more. Go all the way around on the facial and go a little bit on the lingual. And shake it a little bit more. This way it's a little bit more work, and you don't have to do it this way, but to me I feel more confident that the case will turn out better if I will make it in this way. Okay, so I pour just enough to cover all the teeth. I don't go any further up than that. The reason why I do that is because when you're going to be deflasking your case, it will make things a lot easier if you have second and third pour. Okay, you can either wait until this sets up and then apply separator and do your third pour, but what I will do generally is I'll take a piece of tissue paper single ply, either toilet paper or just regular tissue paper. This is single ply toilet paper. Just lay that right on top. Gently, you don't want to disturb too much. And I'll just pour the remainder of my stone. Let me grab my spatula to make things a little bit easier. And 300 grams of stone usually covers about 1 flask for me. So I pour it till it's just about ready to breach, and then I'll stop, and then I'll take my cover, place it from back to the front, and kind of let it slowly go down, and then I'll apply pressure. Make sure your cover is all the way down. And I usually just take my finger and just wipe it off. Apply a little bit more pressure. Wipe it off again. And just take the tops and wipe it off. Okay, so at this point you're just ready to have this sit and cure for about, depending on what kind of set you get, it goes from 20 minutes to whatever. So I'm just going to put this aside, and through the magic of television I already have one that's been flasked and boiled out. Let me just wash my hands real quick and I'll grab it. Okay, so the upper from the same case has been already flasked and boiled out, and I've actually already placed separator on it. As you can see, if you follow all those steps, the replication is pretty exact. I don't think you can tell from this, but I took some macro images and I put them on Facebook. So what I did here is when I waxed up the denture, is I took my thumb and I pressed it in the wax on the palette right here a little bit, just so it gets my fingerprint, and when I poured it up and boiled it out, I checked and there's a nice replica on my fingerprint, which I'm obviously going to polish out when the denture is processed, but until then that's going to stay in pretty well. So that's the flasking process of it. After this you obviously will pack your acrylic and process it, and so the final step I want to show you, I just had one cure and actually just finished cooling, so I'm going to show you the deflasking, just to show you how well the actual stone separates from the finished prosthesis, so you don't have any issues later on. So I'm just going to pop my cover off. I used on this case I just used the flow flask. I didn't have enough of the Flask stone. I only had a sample of Flask stone to use on the entire case, so but the flow flask I did use. Pry that up a little bit. I'll grab my rawhide hammer. So that should come right off. And I'll tap on this side. Comes right off too. Pop the disc off. And you can see I did first, second, third pour. You can really see on here because I used 3 different kinds of colors and 3 different kinds of stone. So I usually use my Renfrew Pilo 2D flasks. Third pour comes right off clean. As you can see, it comes off nice and clean. Any kinds of bits of stone that are left over are not usually stuck to anything, they're just mechanically retained and you can just pick them right off. so they're not, you know, incorporated very deeply into the denture or anything like that, that you have to spend a lot